shoulders. They knew that their decision would shape the future of the Church for generations to come. The pressure was immense. The Catholic Church was facing significant challenges, from the rise of secularism to the ongoing scandals that had shaken the faith of many. The cardinals knew they needed a pope who could lead the Church through these turbulent times, someone who could bring hope and healing to a divided and hurting world. As the conclave began, there was a sense of nervous excitement in the air. Names were quietly discussed, and theories about the next pope spread like wildfire. The cardinals knew the weight of their decision. They were tasked with finding someone who could lead the Church through an increasingly complex world, someone who could balance the Church's ancient teachings with the needs and realities of the modern world. And then, in the midst of all, the uncertainty, one name began to stand out: Luis Antonio Tagle. His name was whispered more and more, and the more the cardinals thought about him, the more they realized that he had the qualities they were looking for. He wasn't just a man of great intellect. He was a man of great heart. His compassion for the poor, his ability to connect with people, and his deep faith made him a natural fit for the challenges ahead. As the days wore on, the excitement grew. The world waited, holding its breath for the moment when the new pope would be revealed. People gathered in St. Peter's Square, their eyes fixed on the chimney, waiting for the white smoke that would signal the end of the conclave. The tension was palpable. Would the cardinals choose a pope who could bring the Church into a new era, or would they cling to the old ways? And then the moment came. The white smoke rose from the chimney, and the crowd erupted in joy. The cardinals had made their choice. Luis Antonio Tagle was the new pope. His first appearance on the balcony was nothing short of magical. As he stepped out, his eyes sparkled with warmth and determination. He raised his hand in blessing, and in that moment, the world felt a little lighter. There was a sense that something incredible was beginning, a new chapter in the life of the Church and the world. Luis Antonio Tagle's rise to the papacy was anything but ordinary. He was born in the Philippines, in a family that didn't have much. His parents, simple people with a deep faith, taught him the importance of fairness and compassion for all. These lessons stayed with him throughout his life and guided him on his journey to becoming the leader of the Catholic Church. Tagle's journey to the priesthood was fueled by a love of learning and a desire to serve others. He was a star student, earning a doctorate in theology from the Catholic University of America. But despite his academic success, he never forgot the poor and marginalized. He worked tirelessly as a parish priest, helping those in need and making a real difference in his community. The Catholic Church, with over 1 billion members across the globe, was facing a turning point. The 21st century brought new challenges: poverty, war, climate change, and a growing sense of disillusionment with religion. People were hungry for leadership, for someone who could guide them through these turbulent times. Pope Tagle's election gave them that hope. As Pope, Tagle would have to navigate many difficult issues. The Church was deeply divided on many fronts, from questions of doctrine to the role of women in the Church. He would need to steer the Church through these debates carefully, ensuring that the Church remained united while addressing the challenges of the modern world. Perhaps the biggest challenge Tagle faced was the ongoing scandal of clergy sexual abuse. This crisis had rocked the Church, leaving many faithful disillusioned and hurt. It would take great courage and wisdom for Tagle to address this issue head-on, restoring trust and healing the wounds that had been left in its wake. Pope Tagle also faced the challenge of a world that was growing more secular by the day. In many parts of the world, especially in the West, fewer people were turning to religion for answers. The Church had to find new ways to stay relevant and meaningful in a world that often seemed to turn its back on faith. The road ahead for Pope Tagle was not going to be easy. There would be many difficult decisions to make, many challenges to overcome. But with his humility, his compassion, and his deep faith, there was hope that he could lead the Church into a new chapter, a chapter that was more open, more inclusive, and more caring, a chapter that would bring healing to a wounded world. And so, as Pope Tagle stepped into his new role, the world watched, hopeful and eager to see what the future would bring. The challenges were great, But with his heart and determination, Tagle had the potential to lead the Church and the world into a brighter future. The world stood still for a moment, eyes glued to screens, as the unimaginable news spread like wildfire. Pope Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church, was no longer with us. The world watched in shock as the seat of St. Peter became vacant, and for the first time in years, the Church was left without its spiritual leader. It felt like the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for something new to unfold. In that silence, the chatter began. People around the world, from every corner of society, were glued to their phones, televisions, or radios, wondering what would come next. Whether they were regular churchgoers or not, everyone felt the gravity of the moment. The absence of a pope was not just a moment of grief, but also one filled with anticipation and hope for what might lie ahead. What would the Church do without its guiding figure? Who would step up to lead the millions of Catholics around the world? The questions were endless. As the world held its breath, behind closed doors in the Vatican, the cardinals gathered in a historic meeting that would shape the future of the Church. The process was deeply rooted in tradition, steeped in rituals that have been followed for centuries, but this time something unexpected was about to happen. The conclave, typically a time for quiet deliberation and hidden discussions, became a scene of surprising twists. The whispers began. Names were tossed around in low voices, each cardinal considering who could fill the shoes of Pope Francis, but no one could have predicted what was about to happen. Then, out of nowhere, a new face emerged. Luis Antonio Tagle, the friendly cardinal from Manila, known for his warmth, kindness, and compassionate nature. This was a name no one had expected. The announcement that Cardinal Tagle was to become the new pope sent shockwaves through the crowd. It was a moment that felt almost surreal. In a sea of familiar faces in the Vatican, Luis Antonio Tagle, the man from the Philippines, stood out as a symbol of hope and renewal. The moment the white smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel's chimney, signaling the election of a new pope, the crowd erupted in cheers and tears. The joy was palpable, and it felt like a new chapter had begun, not just for the Church, but for the world. The election of Pope Tagle was a moment of great significance. Here was a man who had spent his entire life embodying humility, service, and care for the marginalized. His journey from a young boy in the Philippines to the leader of the Catholic Church was anything but ordinary. Pope Tagle's kindness and genuine concern for people, especially those in need, made him the perfect choice for the Church at this critical moment in history. As he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, his first wave to the crowd sparked pure joy. It wasn't just the joy of a new pope, but the joy of a man who had the potential to bring something fresh to the Church. His humility, his genuine smile, and the warmth in his eyes made it clear that this was no ordinary pope. He wasn't just a figurehead. He was someone who understood the struggles of everyday people. His election was a sign that the Church was ready for change, ready to embrace the future while holding on to its rich traditions. Pope Tagle's leadership signaled a shift in the Vatican's direction. For years, the Catholic Church had been viewed as an institution stuck in its ways, slow to adapt to the changing times. But with the election of Tagle, there was a sense that the Church was ready to open its doors to new voices and ideas. His first moments as Pope were a testament to this. As the crowd cheered and celebrated in St. Peter's Square, there was a sense of excitement and optimism about what was to come. Luis Antonio Tagle was not just a pope for the Catholics of the world, he was a pope for everyone. His approachability, his ability to connect with people from all walks of life, and his deep sense of compassion made him a figure that transcended the walls of the Church. It was clear that he wasn't just going to be a leader for the Church, he was going to be a leader for the world. The election of Pope Tagle was not just a moment of personal joy for those who knew him, it was a historic moment for the Church itself. For the first time in modern history, the Pope was from Asia, a sign that the Church was becoming more global, more inclusive, and more representative of the diverse world it served. Tagle's election was a symbol of hope for many, particularly in regions of the world where the Church had struggled to make its voice heard. Behind the scenes, the conclave had been a tense and thoughtful process. The cardinals, dressed in their red robes, carried the weight of centuries of tradition on their